75. So you are getting a discount with the BF sword. And if I'm looking at the pickaxe is half of the BF sword. So we double this, we get 1950. So you're still getting a discount. So the BF sword is actually, you know, a good source of attack power for the money. But one of the important things is that it is really good slot per slot, right? One slot is giving you 50 attack damage. That's awesome. Plus it upgrades into some wicked good items too. So there are a lot of people, what they do as their build is they get their one starting item, you know, or maybe two really cheap starting items. You know, they make a first trip back, they get something else, and then they don't spend anything until they get a BF sword. And it does start to get hard because it takes a while to save this up, and you kind of only want to do that on people who can farm up gold really quickly. But as soon as you hit that 1850 breaking point, you come back, you get your BF sword, you're usually at a huge edge over everyone else because at the stage when you can get a BF sword, an extra 50 attack damage represents a lot of damage. So anyway, the BF sword by itself, so keep that in mind. You know, it's not just a late game item. If you can swing it and getting early, it's awesome, but of course you are going a long time without spending your gold on anything useful. Last, Whisper. One moment, taking a drink here. Nothing like some cola first thing in the morning. That's how I roll, guys. Super healthy. Alright, last Whisper. 20 attack damage, 40% attack speed, and a passive that penetrates 40% of the defender's armor. I should not have to spell out what this is good for. This is good for killing people who stack armor, especially tank characters. What you do is you look at the opposition, and if there's people who have any kind of armor items, the last Whisper is awesome. It's actually not bad in general. Because what you're basically doing is you're getting the benefits of the recurve bow, and basically the benefit of 2 longswords, because you're getting 10 attack damage for free for completing the recipe, basically. And the last Whisper is 500 gold. That's only slightly more than a longsword. So, you know, you're sort of paying for that second longsword. And even if the passive didn't exist, the last Whisper would not be a terrible item, although no one would build it in and of itself, but, you know, it sort of pays for itself already. And then you've got the passive that ignores 40% of your target's armor. So obviously it's amazing, and this becomes more and more valuable the more armor anyone has. Now it's interesting, most people, even if they don't have any armor items, they do have armor. Like, you start with armor. Like, for example, I just logged in as Warwick right now, and I don't know how I've spent my runes or masteries. I didn't really pick it specifically to play as Warwick, but right now I've got a passive 19 armor by itself. Some people start with more armor, and every time you level up, you get a little bit of armor for free. And the speed at which you level is completely variable. Some people will get more armor per level, some people will get less. But there is armor to ignore, so that 40% ignorance is never wasted. There's always a little bit of armor to ignore. So, you know, it's really good. Last Whisper is a fantastic item. If you're playing anyone who's sort of a physical damage dealer, either ranged or melee, that can take advantage of attack speed and attack damage, this is a good item. And it is a really good counter to tanks. Yeah, it's excellent. You know, include this in a lot of builds. I talked about Tiamat last time. Guinsoo's Rageblade. This is one of the few hybrid items available in the game. And by hybrid item, I mean it provides you with both attack damage and ability power. So this is an item to get for people who do physical damage, so they'll auto-attack either in melee or ranged, but they've also maybe got some nukes or abilities that scale up with attack power. So let's look at, I mean, it's kind of hard to quantify the item on its own, but the cost to create this item is 400 gold. And what do you get for your 400 gold? Well, you get 10 attack power for free, or attack damage for free, and 5 ability power for free. And again, a longsword costs 415 gold and gives you 10 attack damage. So this is, you're paying 400 gold and getting 10 for free. So you're basically paying for a longsword and getting a longsword, plus an extra 5 ability power. And then a passive where every time you attack or cast a spell, you get a buff on yourself. And it stacks up to 8 times, and each stack gives you 4% attack speed and 6 ability power. So it doesn't increase your attack damage anymore, but it stacks your attack speed more and more and more, and gives you more ability power. For the money, this is a fantastic item. The only barrier is in terms of what heroes, what champions can really make use of both the ability power, the attack damage, and the attack speed. One of the people that this is fairly popular with is on Ezreal, on Jax, because Jax's abilities scale fairly well with ability power, but of course he wants the attack damage and the attack speed. This will stack very well with people who are building themselves with attack speed as a stat, because the quicker you attack, the quicker you will build stacks of this item. So you don't want this item on someone who's attacking slowly. You want someone who naturally can maybe attack quickly, plus have attack speed items on top of that, because you want to be able to reach that 8 stacks insanely quickly, because fights are over so quickly. If you've got someone who's got, you know, a slow attack speed of, you know, less than 1 per second, then it's going to take you 10-15 seconds to build up all 8 stacks. And either way, at that point, the battle is going to be over. So you want some attack speed before you complete this item. To really makes a lot of sense, in my opinion, I think. Now, your attack speed does raise naturally as you level up, since some characters have a pretty fast attack speed, so there's some room there, but, you know, you may at least want to get a Berserker Greaves or something. It depends on who you're playing. Moving on. Atma's Impaler I've talked about in the defense items, and I will point out again that Atma's Impaler is not a fantastic item on most characters. It takes a very specific type of character to really take advantage of it, and at this point, Jax is probably the best one for doing that. And one thing that's interesting, and I forgot to point out last time, is Jax actually sets up an infinite loop with this item, because every point of attack damage, well, every 3 points, but whatever, basically every point of attack damage that Jax has gives him health, right? Well, the Atma's Impaler, for every point of health you have, it gives you extra attack damage. And these go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, giving you more and more health, more and more damage. Now, it is an infinite loop, but it's an infinite loop that trends towards 0, so you don't get an infinite amount of both, because every time it loops, you get incrementally smaller amounts, but it does combo well with him, so he really maximizes how much of an advantage he gets from this item, plus his passive. Okay, Youmuu's Ghostblade. This is a brand new item. You may not even be aware that it's in the game. It was added in the last patch, the same patch that added Garen, the same patch that added the Randuin's Omen that I talked about in the last video. Youmuu's Ghostblade offers a lot of value in a couple of different ways. First of all, it upgrades from an Avarice Blade and a Brutalizer. And what was cool about both of these items, they were half-decent items before. The Brutalizer especially was pretty good. But because they didn't upgrade to anything, they didn't really have a lot of long-term potential. Now they upgrade into something, and they upgrade into something amazing. One caveat I will talk about in regards to the Avarice Blade here. The Avarice Blade is one of those items that gives you gold, 5 gold every 10 seconds, like the Philosopher's Stone, like the Heart of Gold. And one thing you want to keep in mind is you may not want to rush the Ghostblade, because you sort of want the Avarice Blade to pay for itself. You're paying a bunch of gold for something that doesn't necessarily improve your ability that much. So if you rushed an Avarice Blade early on and let it sit there and collect your gold, and then somewhere, you know, in the mid game or beyond, you complete it into a Ghostblade, you'll have gotten a healthy profit from the Avarice Blade. On the other hand, the Ghostblade is a really good item, so maybe you want it earlier. It'll entirely depend on your playstyle and, you know, what's going on in the game. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, what does the Ghostblade give you? First of all, the recipe cost is 600 gold, which is a fairly healthy cost compared to some other items. But you're getting 5 points of attack damage for free. You are getting 3 points of critical chance. Well, not for free, for your cost. So 5 attack damage, 3 critical percent chance, 5 armor penetration, and 5% cooldown reduction. So, I mean, that's nice. It's a few stats that are all good, but by itself not worthwhile. What are you really paying for? You're paying for the active ability. It's on a 60-second cooldown. You activate the Ghostblade. One thing I'm going to mention, people may not be aware of, when an item is in your inventory here, these are hotkeyed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So to activate it, you can either click on it in your inventory, or you can just hit like the 1 key to activate the item in the 1 slot. You can rebind these keybinds if you'd like, and that is definitely the way you want to activate these items, because it's going to be much faster to do it that way. So you can activate this item once every 60 seconds, and what does it give you? It gives you 20% move speed, 50% attack speed,